Well, hello everybody. This is the final boss, and this is Tomoe, the Cliffs of Despair. And so we're gonna jump in. I did try to double space it, but you know, it doesn't like me apparently. But yeah, I'm curious to jump in. This writer has written a few events for the World Seekers game that I'm working on, so I'm excited to see their work in prose. I've enjoyed reading their work in you know, choice-based fiction. I guess that's interactive fiction. So yeah, let's jump in. Tomoe stood on the edge of the cliffs of despair. Below, the sea rolled out like a black cloth into the horizon. Waves came rushing in white foam towards the doom of the kid. The cliffs cut down by 100 rocks before collapsing against the wall like moths bewitched with the love of flame. I will say, so this prose gets a little purple. And the reason I say that is because I'm kind of losing track of what it's trying to tell me about the scene, right? Like the best, or like I think it's actually okay to use more kind of colorful language in different parts of the story, but usually in the very beginning, I always say, hey, anchor us in what reality is, anchor us in what's going on. And I would say this prose gets flowery to the point where I kind of like, oh, I don't know if I can like moths in a flame with waves and doom um, I'd consider um, you know, prioritizing communicating a clear image of what's happening and the scene in the first para. The sky without a cloud. Sky was without a cloud. Again, um, one thing, and this is similar to the one we talked about earlier. By having was these transitive verbs, I think there are opportunities, right? So like transitive verbs, like was and is, are always worth double checking to see if there's a better option. Like for example, I mean, for this one, I'm going to say no clouds, darkened. But the distant sun, gave no heat. You know, no clouds darkened the sky, but the distant sun gave no warmth here. So again, kind of a similar thing, but again, we're using a little bit stronger verbs. Darkened, a little bit stronger verb. Gave no warmth. Yeah, it's not as good. There's probably a better one for that. But those are the things that kind of at the sentence level can make a first paragraph. It can be the difference between a first paragraph kind of reading a little bit more um, methodically versus having that instant hook. Really comes down to the verbs, 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 verbs. Quote me on that. TikTok. I don't know. I don't even know how to quote that on TikTok. I don't know. We'll do a TikTok video about that someday. So far, maybe cold gray blue. Well, Moy made her way. Wait, what? Oh, okay, okay. Made her way down a narrow path carved out of the side of the cliff to a beach of flat stones. Here are the tombstones of ancient lords and heroes laid gathered in a great cemetery, protected against necromancy by the magic lamps and shining runes. So I like this. I like this. This is cool. Necromancy is cool. Yes, I'm in. I'm stoked for necromancy. I'm in. This could be, you know, I don't know what some whatever else, and I'll be happy. It's like certain things. That's the thing. It's like all about the law of averages. Certain things for certain readers just work for them. Like where for me, if I read a story about alchemy or necromancy, they could do a lot of things, that maybe aren't as beneficial, and I'll still probably keep reading because I just love that mind space, right? And so something to remember as a writer is you don't have to have perfect characters. You don't have to have perfect prose. You just have to have something that connects enough with some readers that they'll keep going even in spite of any of the setbacks or challenges. That's kind of that's the quest. One by one, the tide gnawed at them until all would be swallowed by the sea, and had already sunk, but not recalled by a faint growth beneath the waves. To be satisfied then. A womanly figure still attuned, draped with gossamer silk that floated in the breeze. She surely would have heard Tomoe, yet she didn't move. He glistened not clearly under the distant sun, but like a fish, slimy and dead. Suddenly the head turned to reveal a cheek of pale blue skin, an eye glinting with vengeance, an evil star veiled under the night of hair. So this is actually great descriptive language, right? So like we had purple clothes earlier, but this is giving me a much better picture of what that vengeance is in her eye. So even though this is poetic language, this is poetic language, this isn't purple prose because it gives me a clearer of what that vengeance G is. Yeah, daughter of the sea, beware, beware. Just be careful using lines like that. You know, I've been to a BlizzCon, so daughter of the sea always has that association with World of Warcraft, right? And if that's your intent, great. But maybe look for another turn of phrase that doesn't have such a direct. Because again, it's all about managing your audience. Who is this for? Are the people that are reading this have a high likelihood of also having played or know of World of Warcraft or some of its lore? If that's a high overlap, then Daughter of the Sea might be like a weird, like you're like, oh, is this in World of Warcraft's universe? So those are the things to kind of watch out for to say, hey, if I'm accidentally hitting on something that's in my audience's general mind space, it's going to pull them out of the read. See which Arme, Lady Arme, I don't really know how to call you, but I need your help. I beseech you. My chin rose like the moon over waves. So again, now. So I would say as Arme turned to face Tomoe, because she's already kind of turned, so some of the mechanics I think are getting a little bit blurred here. So I go Arme. Oh gosh, why did I do that? So I go Arme's chin. Arme's chin rose. Just have her chin rose. That gives me enough information. Oh my goodness. Arme's chin rose. Her hands were clasped around a candle. Dimly lit her face. Again, you probably don't need the extra description. We know a candle is going to be orange and it's going to glow. So again, like these are kind of like similar note to what and I look at my writing. I do this too. We all do this. It's why we have editors because it's always much more clear when you look at somebody else's work than you look at your own. It's just life. And that's why it's always good to talk to other people and write collaboratively because, our brains just are set up that way. At least mine is. Um but yeah, that's something to be aware of is like, hey, if there's something that I need to call out that's different, then worth calling out. If I'm just gonna tell you what you already expect to see, like she held a candle up to her face, the reader can already kind of put those pieces together, rather than um She held a candle up to her face. The light reflected off her skin, glowing faintly. It was very blah 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 blah. This is already implied. So like this is like an implication. Stick with the most of your audience will know that this implies an orange glow. Um, what help might I be of you, Doctor Avarile? I am looking for the Parmachinion Book of Life. The Book of Life meaning, rumor has that it's been lost in the sands. A little bit, I know that's grammatically okay, but it's like not, like, English ain't a perfect language. It is generally something worth avoiding. Rumor has it, it has been lost in your lands. I would try to find a way to rephrase it. Yes, this is grammatically correct, but it's stylistically weak. Um, all right, Parchment. So we are getting a few in-world words. We've gotten a couple at this point. So we've gotten see which Arime. I mean, nothing too crazy, like, but just keep an eye on it. I don't think we're over the hill yet. But usually you want to minimize the in-world words at the beginning of a story because they can kind of like throw your readers for a loop because they're like, what is the great god Kalulu and why is he looking for the Malgawaga? Then people are just like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm also very tired. I'll give this caveat in this video too. Um, my toddler has been a rambunctious child, and so final boss, you know, take my feedback with a grain of salt. You don't have to agree with everything. I'm not looking for rumors, but my rumors let me hear. But I call now for your powers of augury. Yeah, I am more than willing to divine it for you, but it shall cost you. She snuffed out the candle and walked past Tomoe, making her way towards a small cave in the beach. So again, I do like that we're starting with some of the anchors of a scene, right? There's a goal. She wants to get a prophecy. There's a blocker. This witch is kind of being, mean about it. Or like a discerning. This witch is being mean about it. There's some sort of stakes now. Okay, well, what's the cost? So good job establishing establishing goals, obstacles, stakes, etc. In this scene. So good on you. Your left arm. No, that's silly. Your firstborn child, then. Their life's not mine to give. One of your fingers, then. Rather not. Name something else. See which. Stop before the entrance. I want your golden hair, then. Every single one of your hairs. But why? What are you going to? Well, I won't tell you anything, then. So again, this funny, but because the tone shifts to almost silly, this is fun, but the tone grows silly and starts to undermine the stakes. If she can, not make a deal, she can so easily refuse. You know, is this request really that dangerous? Again, we want our heroes to experience danger, to experience tension, conflict, all these things. Um, so remember to zoom in on that and say, hey, am I undermining those stakes? Am I undermining some of that conflict? And I would say in this case we are a little bit. Um, by ever burning candles, which cast imagine so cushions, large carpets, there's indulgence, dragons still half full with wine, books laden under precious gems and coins, the most intricate jewelry jumped in. Okay, death and stagnation, dragons. At least they keep their hoards clean. Army stood at the back of the cave next to the gold statue of man. A powerful king came to me from overseas with this statue. He asked me to know. I told him that I should leave him here. Turning into gold, his brother, obviously. So you claim to know what's right and wrong. So they're kind of like quibbling a little bit. This dialogue is good. There's conflict. There's tension in it, but it seems to be losing a little bit of its forward momentum and direction. There doesn't seem to be as clear of a purpose on each side in terms of what is being spoken. So like this dialogue is good and has fun tension, but it's losing some of its forward momentum. You know, so it feels like the MC cares less about the goal, and in turn, we care less. And that's the risk, right? Is if your main character is like, I need to get this prophecy, give me this prophecy, and then she's like, oh, why is this statue like who turned people shouldn't be turning the gold? Then you're like, hey, I thought the prophecy was important. Why are we talking about some statue? Um, it will start, it'll start feeling like the hero doesn't have the end goal in as high regard, and in turn, because how much the hero cares or how much the characters care in the scene is how much the reader cares. First and foremost, period. So it is worth to keep an eye out for that. But mean your siblings in turning siblings. Okay, let's do. What do you think? No, you probably should not treat family like that or people. Why do you seek to take from me? Help me. It'll be a reward in itself. My power is the only thing I have. I won't give it to you. What will you do with your day then? Nothing. I'll wait for 1,000 years for the waters to rise for my people to take over yours, she replied. Doesn't mean I'll help you for free. I'm not going to force you. I came here with a request and you're fully right. Can I at least sleep here for the night? And yes, I know you're not an innkeeper. But I might consume your soul. You've not heard the rumors if you want to stay here. So again, like, it's interesting that she's working a different angle. Like, I like that Arame is working a different angle. And this does give this, scene a unique feel. Like she's like, oh, I'm just gonna negotiate the crud out of this. What are you gonna do? Just sit around? So this is actually, it's interesting. It's interesting to see. Place your scabbards in the back of the ground, roll up her head, arm laying, saying slightly in light stem. Tell me wonder what she. I mean, yeah, this does feel a little blithe. Like this feels almost reckless on Tomoe's part. You know, like kind of the assumed, you know, chumminess of the, spirit feels hard to believe. Yeah, I don't know if the spirit was set up in a way like she had this gaze of vengeance and she's so intense, and then she's like, oh yeah, you can crash on my couch, whatever. Like, so some of the tone shift I think is happening really quickly. It is funny. I think it's a great tone shift. Doesn't feel earned right as yet. Like it doesn't feel believable. The tone shift is pretty fast, and while I love it, it doesn't feel believable in the world's context. Yeah, that would be my. She got up and walked outside to find the sea calm, now so complete silent, like a big sun behind her with only a gentle breeze. She needed to swim. She took up clothes and walked in the sea. Seeing the water was cold and as fear. Faster with every step in her body. So again, kind of a funny metaphor turn of phrase there. Fast for every body, drowned in shivers. Halfway in, air felt cold. She died. Then she saw tombstones and sarcophagi descending in the depths, nibbled at by fish and barnacles. Barnacles. Sea turtles. Sorry, can't help myself. I gotta watch Pirates of the Caribbean. Maybe I'll do that when I inevitably fall asleep on the couch in like 20, 30 minutes. I'll put Pirates of the Caribbean on in the background. I'm in for that. Wait, wait. Mm. How much are we paying for this? Oh, that's not bad. Bitbucket. Oh, oh man, I wish I knew more of the cloud hosting stuff. Sorry, work is hunting me down. Work is hunting me down. Make it stop. Show mercy. All right. So Tombstone sarcophagi. The thought appeared again. One day she would die. She knew it. Not only a fact of the world, but as one does in certain moments of anxious clarity. Wrapped herself in a cloak. So again, the fact that she's like, it just feels like, yeah, I want to maybe get a little bit of her interiority. I want some of Tomoe's interiority thoughts to contextualize her actions because they, in a vacuum, without hearing her mental plan a bit, feels a bit random. Like it feels like she's just kind of doing stuff, which is fine. Um, but she came here with a goal. So again, like she needs to be either acting toward that goal or thinking like, oh, I'm just gonna like put this water spirit at ease so that I can, make a great deal with her. So I'm gonna go on a swim. She won't think I'm bad if I go on a swim. Whatever that may be. Like, well, water spirits love water. I love swimming. Anyways, but our maids still asleep, half sunk in the beds, too large for her, surrounded by sides by piles of trash and silk and gold. Pulling herself towards, kind of a dozen cushion towards her. So the dress slipping out of her chest to reach the bed. Armor's edge closed and her face loosened. She looked like a assembling statue of a great queen. Do you need help cleaning everything up? What do you want? I'm offering my help. If you want, just let me sleep. Started by picking up the dirty piles of cups, washing them, wasn't sure. Okay. She's like, oh, I'll kind of do some service. So she is paying a price. She is paying a price. Wash the cloths, add it on her pile. Look around at the neutral expression. I'm not foolish. I know what you're doing. If you believe this is enough to give me what you want, you're dead wrong. Final price was your hair. So I'm doing this. Yes. So I'm determined in describing your foul intentions. There's nothing you can say to make them think otherwise. Indeed. What are you doing? I'm sitting. I'm going to clean everything on my own. I offer to help you, not to be your servant. Come here, I'm leaving. The rest of the day we spent placing cups and clothes. I mean, I like this. Kind of a cute, kind of a fun moment. This is a fun moment and interaction. But again, I need access to Tomoe's thoughts to give me some context as to, why she's taking this approach if her goal is so important to her. Yeah, because I mean, she obviously came all this way because she cares about a goal. Like, she didn't come this way to like make pals with the river spirit and clean her house. So the question is like, why is she kind of doing all this? Sounds vain. That's the point. Cleaning up clones. I don't know. Sorry. Must be dragon madness. It's not even comfortable. There's a candlestick standing there. Looks like you really needed it. You've stopped looking like a sad kid and you're actually smiling, laughing. I smile often. If I'd seen those teeth before, I wouldn't have asked for your hair. Come on, don't try to hide them from me now. You're a creepy woman. The sun's already set. Go catch some rest. You've done more than enough today. Bed sheets will should be dry soon. She felt a bit guilty when she was exhausted. She didn't put a gold. She allowed her to act more selflessly. She went on and fell asleep. So I like the humor. I think the humor is good. I think you have a knack for that, right? Like I would say, even in World Seekers, a lot of the stuff you added in there had great humor, had fun comedy. Again, it all comes to like, can it be organic as possible in the scene? Again, like this just kind of feels like a fun, like a what is it? The just kind of meeting somebody and bantering with them. It's like, oh cool, like we're bantering and we're having fun and but the goal I feel like is a little bit lost, and I think that narrative drive that's going to pace me forward into this story needs to still be in these scenes, and I do need to get that context. However, you deliver it to me, whether it's through interiority, whether it's through maybe a prop. What if like Tomoe has some weird item that she has to take care of every night because she has a curse that she still needs to resolve, whatever that may be. Like she has like a weird, creepy doll that like, she puts next to her bed and it watches her sleep, the sleep watching chair. I don't know. Something along those lines can go a long way. All that to say, hey, give, you know, we're doing these fun little short scenes, these little short moments, but keep that big goal in sight. We're losing, I think, sight of the big goal, which is to get a an augury reading from her. Wake up, dear. It's almost noon. Found herself buried in heavy bedding pillows, having a memory of making the bed. The key was around her. Made you breakfast. And also I defined what a paramecium is. I've forgotten a monument of your people. It's about there long ago. Oh, thank you. You can do if you want to. I guess I wanted to. Picked vegetables. Found herself to be starving. It was also delicious. Okay, so then again, like the stakes feel much easier. Like this is fun. Like this is a fun outcome. But now even the, what if question is answered and there's minimal goal conflict left outside of fun banter. And don't get me wrong, like I said with the other story, if a reader likes fun banter enough, they won't mind that there's not that much of a goal. They were kind of like dissolving the goal a little bit as we go on. They won't mind. Same with that other. I think it was this. Are they talking about in this one? Necromancy. This one have necromancy? I don't know. Somewhere. Necromancy. Necromancy. Oh yeah, necromancy. Okay, yeah. So it was this one. So like I said, like I'll be much more likely to read a book with necromancy in it, even if there are some other things that aren't operating at 100%. Same deal here. You're doing a good job with kind of the meet, like kind of like the meet and conversate and kind of banter and yada yada. Um, and so, for some readers that might carry them through. For me, in my reading experience, this is starting to slow me down because while the banter is fun, I want to know, I want to get into the story. I want to know what happens next. And we're, dissolving a little bit of that forward pacing urgency. So I would keep an eye on that. Warm rice and soup. I'm gonna read the end of this little. Ooh, that's long. Oof. I'm gonna read one more page before I go to bed because I am slightly dead. Um, but the thing I'm gonna tell you what I'm looking for before I get there. Thing I am looking for in this page is a new goal. You just and a new goal maybe for this, because again, just as much as a single character can have a goal, a relationship can have a goal. Are these characters going to go on a quest together now because they're buddies? Whatever that may be, that's totally, excuse me, fine. But in the next page, because we just dissolved the last goal, I just gave, here it is, right over here. Good luck. I need to see another higher level goal land soon and effectively, or it would bounce me out. And by soon, I mean like in this next page. Tomato found herself starving. It was also delicious. Gobbled up a meal without talk. Arm in there in place. What's on your mind? Nothing. It's waiting for you to be done and leave. Leave? Aren't you leaving? You got what you wanted. I'm not implying that's the way things are. People don't linger around for nothing. A personal game is not all that can keep someone around. I'm having fun. I thought we could bake some pies. What? I thought she needed to go do some. Wait, aren't you aware on a quest for a legendary artifact? Well, yes, but baking sounds more fun, actually. And people say I'm the weird one. Okay, so I will say, for me and my read, I like that, and I like that she's kind of this aimless warrior, but that needs to be established. Like this feels it's a fun concept, it's a fun idea. It doesn't feel either set up correctly or executed correctly, right? Because the initial setup is like she's going to this graveyard to like do this crazy thing. She really cares about getting this book, and so that setup is giving me a different tone than what's getting delivered afterwards. Yeah, either the setup feels off or the execution post um, doesn't match the tone from the beginning of the story and this like silly fun fantasy um, you know still feels slightly discordant. I will say though, it's fun. I like the dialogue. If I was like on my couch just like, scrolling, I'd probably keep scrolling. So like that is something, doesn't always happen, right? So I think you have something fun here. You have an interesting idea here, but it is feels like an early draft, which is totally reasonable, right? Like I think the top to bottom cohesion is a little bit missing, right? Because that Tomoe at the beginning of this story wouldn't didn't feel like they would have stopped to go on like a fun baking trip with this water spirit at, at like the vengeance look in the water spirit and all these things weren't setting up just some lonely water spirit who wants someone around to hang out with them. Yeah, bought dough, apples, and berries. So it's like, all right, we're just pals now. Let's go get dough. I mean, I think it's a fun concept. I do think that some of the tone execution is confusing, and I'd still, even if you're going for an absolutely silly tone, like like just this fun, like oh we're just gonna make best friends and go on baking adventures, and like that's fantastic. I think that's wonderful. You still need goals though. You still need stakes. You still need urgency. Every single story needs goals, stakes, and urgency, and we are dissolving some of them. And so I will still caution you as the writer to say, hey, make sure you're zeroing in on that goal stake and urgency combo. Goal stakes urgency, goal stakes urgency. Every scene has to have them. And I know we're setting up like a fun relationship that like which is great. Like I'm gonna care that hey, I hope they stay friends. I hope they stay buddies no matter what happens. That's good. Like you have something that I care about, the stakes. But now it might be advisable to start testing that. What's going to come between them? What's gonna break that up? Their friendship apart. Is it going to be Tomoe's desire to help her family? Is it going to be this water spirit's desire to be like really tough and I'm a cool water spirit, but she's just still lonely. Again, those would be things I'd ask for. What are the personal goals that they have? Like n- no character is completely just like, oh yeah, let's just it'll start to feel unrealistic. But anyways, I think it's a really great project. I think you have a lot to be proud of in this. Um, and I appreciate you sharing for me to read it. It's been a lot. It's been a fun little read, I will say. Um, Excited, to see what you keep coming with, and I hope some of this awesome humor and some of these fun vibes, wind up in World Secret because I had a blast reading this one. This was a good one. Anyways, have a great night. Take care, and I hope these notes help. Again, feel free to send over more stuff if I can be helpful, or if you have any questions about what I shared, or if you're just like, Jeff, you're dead wrong, and here's why. Tell me. Again, I'm not I am on this journey of what makes something engaging to the most people. And that's what it all comes down to. It's all about what makes one literary product connect with as many people as possible. Because to some degree, I could write, a really whatever, I could write anything and my mom will love it, right? Because she's my mom. She's going to love it. But, and I think, this project connects with me, right? Because I love necromancers, I love magic. The banter is really fun, but it does fall short in some of those areas where it would really get me going, which is like strong goals, external pressures, what is that stuff? And so I think that's the question is, hey, we're all on that journey of what will widen the audience, what will make this really, connect with more people. And again, are those choices that you want to make as a writer, or you say, hey, you know what, I'm okay with narrowing my audience and having it be a little bit more niche. Totally valid as well. Anyways, have a great night. I'm going to bed. Take care.